Shalom, family. Glory be to God, and blessed be the Lamb as always. I just had an epiphany. I just had an epiphany. He who controls the flow of information controls the world. Hey, kitty, kitty. See, sorry about that. They say that he who controls information controls the world. It was an epiphany I had. Then I started thinking about my place in this control of information and how much larger my market share is than everyone else's. I have a hell of a market share. However, that's not what I want to talk about tonight. You know, the world has went mad. You do know that, right? No one is responsible for anything. No one is responsible for anything. No one is ever held accountable. And even when they are, they somehow wind up on the receiving end of the good graces of America, the American government, or the judicial system, something along those lines. This goes on and on and on and on. When you get to the point that the rich can give themselves tax cuts, and that's where you are now. If you knew how much revenue has been lost in the last 25 years due to tax cuts to the rich and sops of a tax cut to the working class in terms of an earned income tax credit, which they actually retrieve back from you within the course of the year. It's just moving money around to be circulated in the system, but you think it's a tax cut. No, you have to spend money. So when you get money, it must be spent. You can't save it. You must pay bills. You must pay car note, insurance, food, rent, or mortgage. All of this comes into play, and you never have enough money. The most honest amongst us don't have enough money. At any rate, most people have problems. You do realize that, right? Let me say something to those who love me and those who have been watching and who know the story. Sometimes we can misinterpret what we're seeing. Sometimes, more times, not everything is a play for something these days. Everything is a move. So when you see me doing things for others, even though we both know, both me and the millions, that, that they wouldn't do it for me, then that is what it is, and it goes without argument. Doesn't it? You won't catch me arguing that point. It, that too is what it is, but there's a reason for it. Believe me, everything comes to an end, you see? Everything comes to an end. But it is better that things get cleared up rather than let things just take their course of action and you give others every opportunity to do the right thing. You give them every opportunity to do the right thing. That being said, sometimes an issue on the surface is cut and dry. It's, some issues on the face of it and on the surface are cut and dry. No need to argue. We already know what the answer to the issue is. But then sometimes there are nuances. Nuances. And then there are the rules. There are the nuances, and then there are the rules. So I know that by January 1st, this would be a different place. Not so to you. It won't feel the same. It won't sound the same. It just won't feel the same. It won't be, because time moves on and it shapes day by day, day by day, and day by day. That's what time does. So I know that come January 1st is a new time. At least it is a time that I have chosen that everything changes. Whatever was there, unfortunately, won't be there January 1st, or the 2nd, or February 1st, or March 1st, or April 1st, or September 1st, and so on and so forth. They will effectively be removed from my life. Effectively. Sometimes there is no other way. And you know what's sad? It is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice. Not just for me, but for the innocent. It is a sacrifice, unfortunately. But where we're going and where I'm going, and in terms of growth, spiritual growth, and other things, just growth. And that's not to get too bogged down in words. Some things just can't be there anymore. And that's the cold, hard reality. And so sacrifices have to be made. Nothing, and no human scenario will ever be allowed to get in front of the mission, the objective. And the objectives have been made clear, quite clear. No one is confused about our objectives at all. But that's personal business. That's personal business. I just wanted to clear that up so those who love me want to think that I'm just being stupid. No, I'm not being stupid. You always do the right thing until you're forced to do the ultimate right thing, whatever that may be. And for this, and me, the ultimate right thing, for me to move forward, I must move forward basically alone or with anew. There is no other way. There's no other way. Is how it is. But sometimes we have to make decisions. At any rate, you know you live in a fool's paradise, right? Let me tell you something. It's where you live, people. I can drive in any direction right now, and within 2 miles or a mile, I will pass by somebody hungry. I will pass by somebody cold. Do you know? Will someone explain this to me? How do you sell a Chiquita banana for $6.25 million. Am I missing something here? And then they bought the banana, and then they promptly ate it. And they called it all art. Are we facing a new gilded age now, where we're making rich over rich over rich? Everybody is getting rich. The gilded age. The age of technology. No one's working for their money anymore. It's the artificial intelligence and the connections to the political establishment, basically. And in the midst of all of this money being made, you have poverty. In fact, there's someone sleeping on a cold concrete right now. And I guarantee you, in every major city in this country, after eating food that no one else wanted. And yet, you say that this is a necessary sacrifice. It is the system. The system creates winners and losers. It is a necessary sacrifice because it is the only system we have, and it's the best we can do. We meaning you. These are not my words. These are your words. Another man said, famous man, who once had a lot of power and still have a lot of connections. He said, yeah, we lie, we cheat, we steal, and do you know that the entire crowd of millionaires erupted into applause? A few years before that, a man went to court and sued for his right to lie. You see where I'm going with all this? So because of these cultural transgressions in which you have involved yourselves, you have the freedom to be lascivious. You have the freedom to be whatever you choose to be, and you call it freedom. It really doesn't matter how your freedom harms anyone else. Like, your freedom costs the world a lot. A lot. Everything you see right now costs the world a lot. You make up 4%. On a healthy day, 6%, 5%. But 4% of the world population uses 25% and more of its resources. You use so much of these other countries' resources that they can't even develop their own other country. And you go to war with them to make sure that they don't. Because you need their resources. And you will never trade fairly or justly or do anything to educate them in such a manner as it would advantage them as a people or as a culture. And you do this over and over and over and over again until we arrive here. That's just one pathway. But you have 3 or 4 pathways of how we have arrived here. So what is here? Here is where we meet. Here is where we meet. The devil makes snide remarks. He knows at this point that neither one of us actually gives a damn about anything anymore. I don't know why he wastes his time trying to get an emotional rise out of me. Rise or not, I'm still going to kill you. You see how juvenile it is when you deal with powerful beings. And he understands that. He still believes that I'm somehow connected to some emotional state involving man and human characteristics. Surely that must be the mistake he has made, because he sounds and he thinks like a man at this point. emotional, disjointed, angry, fearful man who has to keep up a show of manhood in front of his followers, maybe, the non-believers, or maybe even in some cases his own damn wife and kids. But he knows that when he walk out that front door, the real world is there. And the world he lives in, he done fucked up in. So he knows, gets it. He lives by it. He ain't got no damn choice. But see, that's what happens to devils too. Arrogance is always the end. But I'm not going to waste my time on talking about the old fucking troublemaker. He been there a long time. Kind of just there. He's more of a threat to himself and you than he ever was to me and God. He's sort of just there, doing what he do, trying to save himself from the inevitable. It's a hell of a existence. Anyway, along those lines though, we have individuals in the power structure and in the economic power structure or the eco political power structure that have pretty much have run this country into the ground. It has been raped. America is one big bazaar at this point. It's been sold and resold. No one here is actually a legal citizen. Nobody can, it could be argued that no one here is a legal citizen. Not one soul, but the natives. And they, you guessed it, at the bottom of everything. But this is how it is in every country that you go to. At first I thought it was because of religion. Sometimes it is. But all religion have a cultural aspect to it. First, it is created at their hands, and then they understand it at their hands, and then their future generations study it. But it's all them. It never was anything else but them. They are the creator of the God and the believer in the God. Everything about it is them. Yet they don't see it. They still believe that somehow they have a God, which I find quite perplexing. You know why? No God has showed up. I am the strongest representative that God will ever send outside of the angels. And it's a difference because anyway, I'm not going to get into a tug of war over who's above who here. It's a little personal thing between me and the angels. Don't get wrapped up in it. It's a joke. We both laugh at it. But here's where we meet. Biblically, you live in my world at this point. You're in my world, my domain. I'm not in your domain. No, you're in my domain. I live in that book, in the very last book of that Bible, which is pertinent to you. Now, I live throughout the entire Bible. I am even spoke of in the beginning before there was an end. Yet we have an argument. We don't have an, I started figuring things out, understanding things rather. We don't have an argument. We don't, if we use facts, we don't even have a debate, let alone an argument. Not even a debate. I just walk in with the documented facts. I give them the officials, and then I leave. And they will be mailing me or sending me a box with the trophy and a check with my name on it because I brought the facts. And you have no facts. What you have left now is the clingy notion of a belief that something other is going to transpire. Nothing other is going to transpire. I can assure you, as I have before, over and over and over. And you should hope that it doesn't show up, whatever it may be, because it's going to get very ugly. That means one of us have to die. And you'd be caught smack dab in the middle of it. These two powerful beings have finally met. And I got dibs. Because, quite honestly, all of this is mine. You see, it's time for us to come to grips with something. When I say mine, understand what I'm saying. I don't want the property. I'm not interested in millions upon millions of acres of property with the people on it. Trust me on that. No. No. That's a shared experience. That's not what I am speaking of here. Although that is what it is too. But anyway, that's not even an afterthought. No. No. And because it is mine, I'm going to start to act as though it is mine. Okay? And therein lies the rub. Okay? You should read the Bible. And while all of this is going on, wars going on, starvation is going on, this, what you call this political process played out. Israel is doing whatever it wants to do on the world stage. We now have a rogue nation that can't be stopped by any known political systems on this planet. Free to run amok and do whatever it wants on the world stage, and no one dares to anything about it. And between Israel and the United States, they've rendered the United Nations and all of its systems, even the judicial systems here and the freaking congressional hearings and the senatorial hearings, they rendered them impotent to do anything except make you watch and hope that over time no more coverage comes out of that area. But just 3 days ago, they bombed another refugee site. And here's the sad thing about it. You all think that you're innocent. I keep telling you this. You think you're innocent, but your taxpayer money paid for those bombs. Those bombs have USA stamped on them. They don't even try to hide it anymore. They used to try to hide it in the 70s and 80s. Now, man, paint the letters big. Okay? So you have a situation that Israel can never stop fighting. You do realize that, right? It will be never-ending war. They can never stop fighting, ever. They can never have rest, never have any peace, driving already fragile and psychologically messed up people even further down their own rabbit's hole. And again, in the midst of this, Elon Musk is saying Jesus was black. Bill Gates is saying Jesus was black. And I'm sitting here, well, we on a roll, folks. Won't be long now. There's nowhere left to run. Now watch this. Because America now finds itself in a conundrum. Because America loves its billionaires, its rich people. They listen to them. God knows why. You would think they had degrees or that they had some special characteristics or they were moral barometer of the rest of society in that they worked hard and they worked their way up to the top and they became rich. And you can do the same thing. But that's not what we're talking about here, are we? That's not what but it doesn't matter. As long as they got money, you listen. As long as they got billions of dollars, They can buy anything that they want, including you. I can make that statement about most of you, male or female. Bill Gates could walk into the neighborhood Shell station and walk out holding a man's hand. All women, because that's just the nature of things now. Oh, okay. And no one would bat an eye because you would all ask each other, well, I mean, who would have done something other different? I mean, y'all can't judge people. But you see my point. So these two gentlemen have said that Jesus is black, but most of us already knew this. And those of us who didn't believe it, I've been driving the point home over and over and over. I have challenged every God, every belief system, every fallen angel. If I left some out, let me know. And those who I haven't aspersed, you should understand that I have my reasons for not aspersing you. I have my reasons, okay? Sometimes things are calculated out. And it ain't because I'd be lying. You do have some kind of something special going on with you. But it ain't your religion. It's not your religion. It is your place on the battlefield, not your religion. And whether or not it was worth sacrificing your known place on the battlefield for me to tell you about yourself. So we decided that it was better to not tell you about yourself right now until we've gotten a few other things out front and said, okay? But that don't make your ass special, and that don't mean that you haven't left a trail of blood and destruction like most other religions and most other cultures that are not native or Hebrew or Negro. That's just the facts. That's just the simple facts. You each have a bloody history. Bloody history. One thing I can say for damn sure, you don't mind killing the shit out of each other, which is why I get alarmed when I talk about hurting a lot of people at the same time. Everybody is alarmed, but you're busy doing it right now. I mean, you is it because it's in someone else's land and someone else's child and someone else's people? Is that the reason why? Because I'm starting to think that that is the only reason. I guess the wolf have to bite somebody. It may as well be that other guy, huh? But never you. I guess that's a fair. I, I guess that's fair, but that's also a fair assessment of where you are as a country and as a so-called culture. Period. Period. But back to what I was saying. This is not a missive about me. It's a missive about the situation with me in it, not me. And where this is all going. Like I just heard somebody say it, we're going to see it in our lifetime. Yeah, you are. You're going to see it in your lifetime. Things are moving fast now, faster than usual, faster than usual. So as the world's religions crumble and crack and quake and shake, not only at my voice, but at the different feelings of all these different people across the world in conflict with what they have been taught. In direct conflict as to what they have been taught to believe comes under direct challenge. And their God cannot do anything about it, which was the point. It wasn't to assail your God. No, it was It was to offer revelation, not to assail your God, but to give revelation. Okay? And that what has been revealed here is that you don't have a God. At least not one worthy of your worship and time. Okay? Your God is not worth your worship or your time. Most definitely not your money. Shit, you better anyway. I'm not gonna make that statement. That ain't cool. But that's a fact. Yet you cling. I guarantee you, before next year's out, that the Pope opened that basement up, and we're gonna have a peek inside that basement because he knows the truth too. They all know the truth, and they're watching the truth come alive, and they've built lies up over centuries, centuries. They've taught their children centuries of this, and now it all comes undone. And this is where spirituality meets real life. Now, here's the real life effect of this. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. They have to be careful. You have to be careful. Because this is some serious stuff here. Okay? This is like their worst nightmare come true. In fact, it is their worst nightmare come true. Day for day, I don't even sound like me. I know that things are changing because I am changing. And that's not the only reason. There's only one way for this to go. You don't see it, but I do. Only one way for all of this to end. So, as someone who has the power I have, I love to ask those who are some emotional state or in some kind of way in terms of their feelings, what would you do with this kind of power? Think about that. Would you allow everyone to starve and become poor and poor and poor at the hands of the rich? Would you allow America to go unchallenged throughout the world and cause war after war after war because its design is actually other people's resources, killing tens of thousands each time, a million each time? Would you allow the West to foment war to the point of nuclear war that will kill tens of millions in any nuclear exchange? I want you to think about these things. What would you do? Seems to me that Mother Earth, even Mother Earth itself is attempting to vomit out a large portion of the people. It's trying to vomit them out. That's the reality. There will be no more jokes, and nothing escapes. I keep saying that because we're on this journey, or we're on this path that when things get away, other things start to happen. You get what I'm saying? When you allow this legally, on a social level, when you allow people to get away with things in the face of the people, then you simply produce more of those people, if you get what I'm saying. And why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? There's no more repercussion at all. No one is responsible here for anything. Nobody. I don't care what it is. It's pain everywhere, but no one is responsible. So I ask again, what would you do? Would you try to make peace? Be peaceful? Would you try to bring peace between the nations? If the nations wanted peace, then that would be peace. When a man wants peace, then he gets peace. That's one of the easier blessings of God to grant. It's peace. Just ask for it. But look at your culture. Look at the world. Look at your culture and look at the world. It's the murder capital of the world. Outside of the war, America is the murder capital of the world. It is the rape capital of the world. It is on the bottom end of every socio-economic indicator that's ever been done in the world. Meaning a growing portion of its population are falling deeper and deeper into poverty, and their so-called middle class has become staunchly working class, not middle class, working class. There is no more middle class. It's gone. So what you have effectively is rich, ultra rich, the working class of two types, skilled, unskilled, and the professional. Everything underneath that is starving. Can't even get a job. And this is done purposely. Millions of dollars are being squandered right here in Houston. Millions of dollars yearly, annually. When was the last time anyone has called for an audit of the city governments? I rest my case. And I rest my case. No one wants to audit because they already know what will be found. Graft, misuse of funds, misappropriation, funds spent on things that shouldn't and not be spent on, overpricing, them willfully paying prices above and beyond the value of or the return, because contractors or whatever, that they're in bed with them, they're friends and they've known each other a long time, this type of thing. You don't have a democracy anymore. You've been bought out and bribed out. Like I said, no one can legally call any of you citizens, and that's one of the reasons. For you to be citizens, you have to have a democracy, a functioning republic, or there's something that believes in the Constitution or the law that is based on. You don't have any of those things. All that's gone. All that's gone. But the biggest thing is nobody is accountable to anybody or anything. Nobody. You try to get somebody fired that have been inept and unprofessional in government. They're not going to get fired. I don't care what they've done. They're not going to get fired. Why? Why do you think that is? Well, it's a sense of entitlement. It can't be anything else. It can't be anything else. And we tolerate it. You tolerate it. But I ask again, what would you do? I know that I am changing, becoming something else. Not necessarily physically, but trust me, I'm becoming something else. I'm a long ways from the beginning of this. I know what I'm talking about. This will be 1, 2, 3, probably about the 4th phase of something strange happening. Strange by your standards, but for me, I know what's happening. And that means that this world is going to be turned in another way. Okay? That's what that means. That's what that means. I'm changing, so that means everything around me that is natural will also change. Everything is going, you don't understand. I know you don't. Like I said, the world has got tight, small. It's starting to seem like it's just business. And that wasn't there before. You, the situations and scenarios that you create are starting to look like just business. Human face is being taken off. In short, you're being objectified. And that's dangerous. But I can tell you that you're being objectified. You know what objectification means? Ob- ob- Objectification means, say for instance, I don't like killing humans. I just can't stand it. And my people, they don't like to do it either. For whatever reason. It doesn't really matter. This is just a hypothetical. So how do we get past the psychological impact of murder and killing and war and the boundaries of war? It's still murder and killing. It's just that you're doing it on the battlefield using weapons of war. It's still the same thing. However, what you must do is objectify the enemy. You must start to point out everything that they've ever done over and over throughout history. You must do everything that you can to, to show your soldiers that this is a monster, evil, deserving of death. If you can do that, then your soldiers won't won't have a psychological impact, or they won't feel like they are involved in murder, mayhem, and killing. But that's exactly what it is. You just don't want them to have a stain of it. So you make the enemy monsters, and that be you. You're being objectified as I speak, not just by me, but by the universe, and that's bad things too. A lot of shit is bad, and that's coming this way. So I have to change. That is why what is in this year's life, which is like the final chapter of a book, can't come into next year's life. It must be gone. Hopefully that will be the final sacrifice that I'll have to make that ain't of the enemy. These ain't necessarily loving friends or nothing, but I'm just saying that they're not enemy either. But still, they must be sacrificed. That's how it is. That's what it means to be a man. So that's how it is. No way out of the rules. But what would you do if you were me? Am I to be quiet? Should I stand down and just observe, maybe? When I understand that with the wave of a hand and the right attitude, I can make those people over there stop doing what they're doing. Largely because it's not going to be enough of them left to do it. So the question becomes, is that wrong? And if it is wrong, by whose standard? And what standard? What is the standard here? I would think the standard set is that by your standard, you can kill whoever you want to, as long as it's for something that you believe in, or for money, or for resources. So I don't understand. Once again, I'm back where I was. Why is it that it bothers you something above you, and I am above you, then why do you think that somehow that's unfair for that view to come out of me? I don't understand. And I'm trying to. I'm really trying to understand why you get to kill tens of thousands of people over their resources and land. but but when God does it, all of a sudden it's a problem. Are you more worthy? I mean, I'm just not understanding. What I'm trying to say is we no longer listen because of these contradictions. You have these contradictions that make no sense, have no logic, not a scintilla of actual logic. It's just what you want, and you can get it because you have the power to get it, which leads to anything that's more powerful than you gets what it wants to. Any way that this shit pans out, any way it pans out, it still looks the same way, if you know what I mean. It still looks the same way, yet you cry foul. You want silence and understanding. You want your children to not hear the truth and feel the fear that my voice causes. And I understand this. That's why, for the most part, I don't do it like that. And we don't gloat. This is not a damn contest when you're dealing with real people's lives. It's not a damn contest at all. It's not a win-lose thing unless you make it that. It's an issue. Anyway, I'm not going to try to explain this to you anymore. But it's not like that. It never was. That's how you think. You think in terms of right now. I don't think in terms of right now. If you know me for 5 years, then you could see me say something and say February of 2003, and that's going to happen in goddamn January of 2005 because we move slow. Sometimes, anyway, there are going to be. If people would just come to respect that would make things a lot easier and a lot less stressful. Some things just are. You are, aren't you? There's no arguing. You are. Then I am. Has nothing to do with you. You stand alone. You came here alone. Most of you, unless you had a twin, which is relatively rare. You stand alone. And I promise you, you're going to leave here alone. By yourself. Guaranteed. Okay? So I do the same. But from a entirely different position of power. It's not a malevolent power, but neither is it benevolent. It's just kind of there. That's what it does, based on scripture and understandings that are ancient. It does not know any other way. It has been programmed, so to speak. It's been programmed. It's going to do what it does. Really, it's worse than a Terminator. That's all it knows, is to do what it does. So, I think I know what you would do if you were me. I think I have the answer to that question. I think that you would do things that I would never dream of doing. You would think that you could do or make individual actions without seeing its repercussions, consequences, and the interlinkage between what is now and what is to come. You won't see any of that, and yet you will use it anyway. You would rise the waves And in other people's countries, you would use tornadoes and strong winds to blow down other people's buildings. You would use Mother Nature against your enemy. This is what you would do. This is guaranteed. You would not see the subtle nature or the balance. Understand the intricacies of how all this works, and that would be nothing but destruction. Nothing but destruction. That is what you would do. You would treat it as a weapon, and that is sad to say, but you would treat it as a weapon. You would threaten every other nation with it. That's what you would do. And all of the other nations would they must bow down. They must. Who could control their weather? I mean, how do you stop the weather? How do you shoot at the wind? How do you stop the lightning? You don't. You suffer through it. You tolerate it. And you hope you survive. So because of that, so because of you, I think we can say God chose me because I'm of much better temperament. Much better temperament. Irrespective of what you may think, I'm of much better temperament and of sound mind. And I know that there are consequences and there are interactions on this world stage. I understand the repercussions and what these repercussions lead to and how these things can play out in the unseen away from you while you think that you have just done an action and you're done with it. Anyway, that's why he chose me. That's why he chose me. And me is growing, growing. And I can't slow it down. I can't slow it down. I can no longer not be me. You get what I'm saying? But we're gonna wrap this up here. Enjoy the rest of your evening with love and peace. I am Source. I am Seven. I am One.